Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I finally did get around to watching Enchantress's deep dive, and boy, I will need to watch it at least 15 times if I ever want to use the character. And instead of just breaking down her abilities, and we're going to be going over some of them because it's going to be a fairly difficult task to decode all of that stuff. I want the focus of this video to be more in a sense that Enchantress, to me, after having had a bit of time to overthink, represents everything that I think most players don't want or need in the game, and also much of what is going wrong with the game. And I do have several arguments for that, and we can start with the very simplest one to explain. She is yet another champion that's effectively a 5 out of 5 defender. Yes, she does have tons of utility, but is fairly mediocre in damage and survivability somehow. Definitely not easy to use, obviously, which I think is now more important than ever, especially with the AI issues and other inconsistencies in the game. And it's absolutely the last thing that we need in terms of defender strength, because this year already has been disgustingly filled with subpar and mediocre attackers and absolutely bullshit defenders that are a cancer on this game and have single-handedly reduced the enjoyment of this game for majority of the players. And I'm not talking about losing to a serpent because you played bad or you could. I'm talking about losing to a bullseye or serpent just because you didn't have one of the handful of champions required to counter him. Like in the current meta, it is physically impossible to get a competitive score against Serpent. Yeah, you can win the fight with Wiccan and Chavez and Kushala, but you're still going to take a ton of time, and you're still going to take chip damage, and you're still going to struggle quite a bit. And that is exactly what we don't need in this game. Another 5 out of 5 defender. Why? I understand that champion designs are done ahead of time, but I do understand and know the fact that Kabam has made adjustments prior to the release of these champions, relatively close to the release date. And the general sentiment of BS defenders and BS mechanics have to go has been here for a while. If we learn to handle Photon and Onslaught, which AI is making incredibly difficult again, then champions like Serpent absolutely must go, and Kabam has to be exceedingly careful with 5 out of 5 defenders. So that is the first thing that I realized watching her deep dive and them discussing. They themselves know and admit that she's going to be cool in potentially some long fights, but again, it's doubtful that we're going to ever use her for that, because there's tons of champions that are very, very good for long-form content and not that much long-form content for all of that need to be facilitated. Like Serpent is very good for long-form content. Which one of you is actually using Serpent to clear Necropolis and stuff like that? And then once you do clear it, poof, offensive use disappears. You don't have that much long-form content in the game. But, and that's what she's going to do. She's going to be effectively for long-form content and 5 out of 5 defender. Which means you must get her one way or another if you want to stay competitive, effectively. Especially if she's going to be following the mechanics of, Serpent and whatnot. So that was the first thing that rubbed me personally completely the wrong way. The other thing is, BAM themselves have admitted and know that the game needs to be simpler. They have been moving towards that. Slowly, but bit by bit. Introduction of daily super event and potential return of it is a step in the right direction. Making side events finally much more simple is a step in the right direction. They are trying to make events simpler and everything else, and they have to carry over that design philosophy to the champions, because fuck me sideways on a motorcycle. This champion comes with a shorter instruction and longer instruction and abilities list than, I don't know, my washing machine or I believe some surgical instruments do. And look at that shit. Who the fuck wants to learn it all? As if we don't have enough to do in the game. This type of things, like, Jesus Christ. And the synergies? are new spells that you have to learn again. Whoa. And there is only one way that is going to make anybody go through the effort, is if she's like a badass character. Like if she's incredibly powerful offensively, which she's not. So in reality, Serpent is going to exist in a game where 95% of the people never learn how to play her, or learn the very, very brief basics to get by. Jesus Christ. Champions with this long of a description is exactly the opposite what we need. We need champions with shorter descriptions and some, cool, interesting new abilities, sure, but fuck me. What are you guys thinking? Again, this is exactly the opposite of what anybody wants to see when they see a new champion, I believe. I mean, I'm sure there will be a few enthusiasts and a few smartasses in the comment section. But as a champion for general public, wow. Way to make your game needlessly more confusing and difficult and feel like a homework without any need to do. This is the first champion that pretty much comes with instructional manual videos, because just describing it makes no difference. Look at this. There are all the combination spells that Enchantress can cast on defense. I'm supposed to learn all of that? And then here are all the spells that she does on offense. Like, whoa. And here's the thing. I'm not trying to deny that she could be a good champion necessarily, or that I will never ever learn it if the need arises. But I sure shit don't want to do it. And here's going to be the dirty secret I don't think Abam realizes. These mini games that I started to add into the champions kits, for most of the players that I have spoken to, make it less likely that a champion's going to get used. I have spoken to a lot of people on my streams, and vast majority of the people would enjoy every single champion in the game more if they did not have that mini game in it. It's not fun. Tedious. It's yet another thing that you have to learn the timing of and whatnot. Like, out of all of the champions that have these mechanics in, that players actually use, the one that we are sort of accepting and learning is Kate Bishop. Because she's very, 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 very good. And, you kind of fool not to use Kate Bishop because of that minigame. Because you can learn them. But for instance, when we're talking about Wu Vision, the fact that I need to learn the timing of tapping her level 2 makes me personally, and many players that I speak to, less likely to use Wu Vision, because it's another thing on top of everything else to learn and to get down to and to nail. And the champions are already overly complex for players to have any desire to do so. Similarly with Spider-Punk. The fact that you need to do swipey uppy down on his level 2s to get his full abilities makes him less likely to ever become a popular hero, unless he turns out to be very good for many things at some point in the future. Then we have Bullseye, who hardly anybody uses offensively, and who could potentially be much better offensive champion than most people give him credit to. You don't really want to learn that special to perfect release timing thing. And the more of these mini games are getting introduced, the more complex the game is, and that is, again, something this game absolutely does not need. Over the years, this game has become already extremely taxing on people's abilities. Somebody downloads the game right now, they will never learn most of the nodes or champion abilities. They will learn, the best ones that people are going to recommend them and stuff like that. But there's so many champions, and they are getting increasingly more complex, that it is long bypassing the player's ability to actually comprehend all of it, retain all that information, retain all of that in their muscle memory to be able to execute it. when I spoke about the biggest issues with MCOC right now, I named AI being number one, which I do sincerely believe that fighting mechanics, AI, lags and dropped inputs and all that other stuff is massive problem. It is huge because it's intruding in every fight at the where there is the highest level of AI that Kabam has. But this is the second biggest problem in the game, because it's too big, too vast, too complex. It feels too much like a homework. It feels like a chore when shit like this comes to the game. Therefore, in my eyes, Enchantress absolutely embodies everything that is wrong with the current design philosophy. It's just 4 times too much to read, too much to take in, and on top of everything else, she's exactly the type of champion that we did not need right now. We don't need a new 5/5 defender every month. A couple of them a year would do. Like, honestly, they would, because once a new 5/5 defender comes into the game, you can't escape it. You will end up fighting it in Alliance War. You will end up fighting the defender in Battlegrounds every day, and you will eventually meet them in some challenge modes and so on and so forth. Don't need 5/5 defenders, especially right now in the game, especially ones that will require you to decipher a fucking Nazi World War II Enigma code in order to play them well, or against them well. Fuck that. Honestly, I sure should hope somebody from home watches this and takes it to heart. Because, Jesus fucking Christ. Who the fuck do they think they are? Anyways, Enchantress, cool. Her mechanics, strengths. Okay, so let's go over her mechanics. So, hold on to your heart, summoners. The Order of Enchantress aims to steal it and every other heart in the contest with her powerful spells and mastery of seduction. On attack, use Enchantress Special 1 to select from over 10 unique spells to sculpt her utility to fit nearly any situation. Special 2 attack then gains bonus effects based on how many spells have been previously cast and the type of spells they were. When all her spells are cast, Enchantress approach levels are truly befitting the highest caliber of Archmages. Keep in mind you need like 12 level 1s to cast all of them. On defense, Enchantress waves a deadly web of spells that must be disassembled in order to attack her safely. Failure to do so results in Enchantress preventing incoming damage and then reflecting that damage right back at the attacker. Unavoidable. So, Power Steal, Damage Reflect, Untouchable, Unstoppable, Evade, Nullify, Neutralize, Atrophy, and many more to list. Strengths, Buff Control. She has 3 different forms of buff control, including Neutralize, Nullify, and Atrophy. Power Advantage. She steals a little bit of opponent's power on every hit. It doesn't work when they are at level 3. Long fights and chance power advantage on resource accumulation level her up to the course of the fight truly godlike capacities. With all her other spells cast at least once in a fight, she can repeatedly use her special attack 2 to reapply them for incredible control, critical rating, and lifesteal, making her victory all but assured. Weaknesses. Spell concentration. Casting and maintaining so many spells requires a clear mind. Being struck in certain ways can cause Enchantress to lose her hold on certain spells, causing their immediate loss. When fighting her on defense, pay careful attention to what these triggers are and exploit them to undo the web of magic. Careful though, the effects of certain spells protect the removal of triggers of others. Great. High power usage. While Enchantress has wide coverage of RPG utility, she often needs to have multiple spells working in conjunction in order to achieve the same results as champion focused on a single piece of utility. Because of this, she also needs to spend a lot total bars of power to take it. So she's slow to ramp up. Both axes carry utility and damage. While she does generate power much faster than most other champions, she's overall quite slow in short fights. So again, we all know what that means. She's not going to be a popular BG attacker, which is half the battle. But as long as she's potent enough defender, I suppose. As defender, Enchantress' greatest threat is the damage reflection from her Abjugate casting ability. The more spells she has active, the more damage she absorbs and reflects. Thankfully, each debilitate on her reduces the threat by equal amount. Be on the lookout for champions who can keep a debilitate on the Enchantress easily. There aren't many good ones, I'll tell you that much. Either way, I love the way her special 2 looks. I don't love much else about what they have done here. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the